Hello, and welcome to our 1983 episode of Pop Culture Time Capsule. They call me Anthony.
That they do.
It's on my birth certificate. I guess that has something to do with it.
Huh.
Yeah,
All right.
Weird stuff. I'm here with Jameson and Jeff. How you guys doing tonight?
Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing quite
Thanks
well.
for having me on the show tonight.
I'm glad you could
I
join
really
us.
appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, there he is. There's Jeff. Oh, look at this. This Facebook Live, man. The minute your face comes in a frame, it picks you up, says that's Jeff Robbins.
Oh, really?
Look at it right there.
That's creepy.
You want to tag Jeff Robbins?
I thought your
Watch
likes.
this.
Don't
Watch
your
this.
likes go up?
And
War games.
and it doesn't know this guy because you're not wearing a hat and glasses.
Yeah, I don't have my
Yeah, it doesn't
regular
know. Oh,
attire.
there it is. You want to tag Frony Danu?
Well, you might as well. Get me
How
on
did you
there.
How did you get the name Frony?
It's an off-air only story.
Yeah.
It's an acronym.
Can we put it on the online version of the show?
Yeah. The after hours, dark web version.
Right. After hours. Yeah. The Baywatch Nights version.
Baywatch Nights. Stacey Bingham.
Yeah. So this week, here we are. We're talking about the great year of 1983, the pop culture events that happened in 1983.
What made it such a great year?
Oh, all
What are you
kinds
so
of
positive
things,
about?
All kinds of things.
Scramble porn.
Yeah. Oh boy, those are the days. I can't hear myself in here. Can you need just a little juice?
Why did that come up in '83? Wasn't that a thing before?
I don't know about that. No, I don't know. I wasn't around.
You guys were talking about the.
I was -5.
You guys were talking about the MTV the other night on the
Yes,
radio.
Right.
What's the worst video ever made according to that book?
I don't remember.
Billy Squier,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
the one where he's prancing around the pink sheets.
Yeah. 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 So you were listening, huh?
Yeah.
Talking
Wow.
about that book. Was that what it was called? I Want My MTV? Is that what it was called?
Yes, I've not actually read the whole thing, but I've read bits and pieces. It's like an oral history kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's.
We're about to give our oral history.
So-
got an oral history.
Are we gonna? So should we tell the listeners that we're going 2 hours tonight?
2
Take
hours
oh,
tonight.
So
special edition.
They prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
And-
gonna be good stuff right here.
Now, if I understand things, if I was in the same meeting that you guys were in,
Production meeting.
we will take actual song breaks in the 2 hours.
Why not?
So we will actually stop talking.
I'll be able to.
Because right now there's music, but we're still talking.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All
And
I
right.
think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. You think this song's pretty wimpy though? You told me before.
I
we
do
started.
enjoy this song. I enjoy the entire. Is it
You
oeuvre?
celebrate their oeuvre.
Oeuvre of the Talking Heads. I'm a
Yeah.
big Talking Heads guy.
Right. Yeah. I like my oeuvres over easy.
Best Talking Heads album, Anthony Danu.
Can I still go? Can I go with Stop Making Sense? Does that count? That's
Jameson
a video.
Rabbit. Okay, quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
I'm not super familiar with them, but I am in love with.
You're not super
Stop
familiar
Making
with
Sense.
them. You've been talking about them since we sat down.
I really love Stop Making Sense. That was really what got me into them, and then
Do you
obviously
have-
burning down the house.
This is what the 2 hours is. The extra half hour is
Yeah.
just talking
Yeah.
heads
Yeah,
for
we're-
30 minutes.
Fear of music.
And then we'll
is
get
a-
into the show at the half hour mark.
You always want to push this along, Mr. Rabbit. This is the settling in portion.
Oh, okay.
This is like the Paul Schaefer, David Letterman banter.
All right.
What are you drinking there? A little Mountain Dew?
A little Diet Mountain Dew, sorry. I'm watching my figure.
I'd like to watch your figure.
I'm watching it for you.
Come on,
Hey,
boys. 1983. Danu, how young were you?
I'm -5 in 1983.
Yikes.
Yes.
Jeff Robbins was.
At some point in 1983, I turned 12.
Okay.
Some point would be August, September.
September.
I was 6 years old for the majority of 1983. It's a good year. That's sick. 83, in making this list, I realized that 1983 was a year that I started to get into a lot of things. Like I started to
Scramble porn.
actively understand sports and suddenly had teams I enjoyed and wasn't just sitting there mindlessly staring at something. Like I was into football.
You actually can remember like first-person things from 1983 when you were 6 years old?
I remember things when I was 3. Oh, yeah. I broke my leg when I was 3. I vividly remember all the
You're
events
some sort of
that.
idiot savant.
Yeah. You got it half right. But, 83 was when I started getting into music. I got my first little pseudo boombox tape
When
player
you were
thing.
6?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had a little Sony radio thing. Listen to my Sesame Street.
So you weren't cranking up the Talking Heads in 83.
I did have that Sesame Street Saturday Night Fever album. That was great. That was good stuff right there. Anyways, What the hell?
Can you put the camera off me while I'm boring this?
Oh, is it on you? It wasn't. It is now.
I meant that one.
Oh, that one. You can't stop that.
We can block that and post.
Yeah.
Let's get this thing going. We're already 10 minutes in.
All right, let's do it.
Nothing's happened.
1983. Let's get started. Who's starting it this week?
People are turning off their radios in droves.
Fine. I'll start us off. 1983.
I sense a lot of interaction on this episode.
Okay. You think there's going to be a lot of crossover?
I'm gonna have a lot of I'm just gonna have a lot of opinion
a lot
about
of
what you
crap
guys are
talk?
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless there's a lot of wrestling talk. No, I'll go to sleep.
1983. My number 10. In 1983.
So we do a list of 10. That's how this works.
One more. I'm taking these headphones off and walking. 1983. I have entitled Michael Jackson Moonwalks into History.
Holy moly!
It all because it starts with May 16th, 1983. Michael Jackson unveiled his trademark move, the moonwalk, on the Motown 25 celebration.
Yesterday, today, and forever.
Right. His first televised performance of the moonwalk that just, it got over big time. Everyone loved it. Uh-oh. What are we doing here? Oh,
This doesn't sound like Michael Jackson.
it doesn't.
Oh, sorry.
Michael Jackson at all. Thriller was taking over the charts because it had come out at the end of 1982, which we talked about on our first episode. But Thriller itself was suddenly blowing up on the charts with Billie Jean and Thriller and the Thriller video. I mean, it was Michael Jackson was everywhere.
Human Nature.
Yeah, he was everywhere. He went from being Michael Jackson to the world knows Michael Jackson. And
PYT.
PYT, that's everyone's favorite, right? Pretty young thing. So yeah, 1983. Michael Jackson.
What,
did a lot of things.
What's the best song off Thriller?
I always liked Billie Jean more than Thriller, and I don't like Beat It.
Okay.
I think probably Billie Jean. I think is my favorite song. Yeah. But you?
Does one be starting something off that? Or
It is.
Yeah,
First
that's
song.
probably,
That's a good one,
that's
too.
probably my favorite.
That's pretty good. Him trying to convince people he was tough.
What's the big hit off the wall? Rock with You.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
And Don't Stop. Oof.
So that's So what are you calling number 10?
Michael Jackson moonwalks into history.
Nice. All right. Let's
you
keep
go.
the show moving, Danu.
Let's make it happen.
All right. Got a good little title there.
We got it.
All right. For my number 10, I'm going with Kiss's Makeup Mistake.
Oh.
This is where Kiss took off the makeup. They had the song you're hearing now, which is "Lick It Up."
Let's take three ugly guys and
Oh
take the
my
makeup
God!
off them.
You know what?
What about Four Ugly Guys?
You know,
Paul Stanley's a good looking man.
I was gonna say
Think
Paul
so?
Stanley, and then the drummer was it Peter Criss at the time
Peter
in
Criss,
'83? Are you sure in '83 they hadn't switched
I don't
out
think
for
they
somebody
switched
else?
to Eric Carr yet.
Is he the cat?
Yeah, Kitty Cat.
Okay.
What is this?
What are you doing?
It's a Tears Are Falling video.
Oh God. I will say Ace Frehley, ugly fella. Gene Simmons, ugly
Gene Simmons
fella.
is a gargoyle.
Oh my God, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, huge mistake by Kiss.
He went from being everyone thinking he was just so cool to wow.
right.
That man is
Put
a
it
gargoyle.
put it back on.
Put it on.
This helped make them at least a little bit relevant for a while. I still I hated it. All right, I hate it. I don't like this song, and that's why I'm calling this Kiss's Makeup Mistake. So
But if you don't like the song, what does that have to do with their makeup?
it's part of the era.
I don't like Kiss in general.
I
That's
like
cool.
one album.
I don't like Kiss.
I think Love Gun is a really good album. Outside of that, there's maybe a couple songs. Beth,
Yeah.
but not big on Kiss.
Kiss is the best American band of all time.
You shut your mouth.
Good God. So there you go. Kiss's Makeup
Them
Mistake.
and Whitesnake.
There you go. Yeah. I think the nation agrees
No,
with
it's
you.
Whitesnake. Are they from
They might be from
over the pond?
They might be actually.
I don't know.
Who cares?
It's all good.
Yeah.
When are we gonna get those trivia questions you were teasing?
Do you want to start one now?
Well, only
You
if
wanna
it's
be
relevant to
starting
number 10.
All right, I'll give you a trivia question. You guys ready for this?
Y'all ready for this?
Who was the guitarist on Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon album?
Does it have to do with Kiss?
It does not have to do with Kiss.
Is it Randy Rhoads?
It is not Randy Rhoads.
Was he dead by this point?
He was dead by this point.
Sorry
Is
about
it
that.
Ted
Sorry to the
Nugent?
Rhodes family.
It's okay. On behalf of them, I'm accepting your apology.
Are we
Not
taking
Randy
call,
Rhoads.
Are we
I
taking
guess
calls
Ted
on
Nugent.
this?
I know that's not right.
Ted Nugent. That's a fun guess, but that is incorrect.
Let's leave that out there for a while to marinate.
Yeah.
Sure,
you go.
sure. And if someone wants to call the show and answer that trivia question, 608-825-0930, 825-0930. If you want to tell us who Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist was on the Bark at the Moon album. But we're moving right along. That was my number 10. And we're going to go to Jeff Robbins.
So I know that every week I talk about Saturday Night Live. It's kind of one of our most endearing qualities of the show, I think. I get a lot of
mileage.
positive feedback in the old email about my weekly SNL references.
Sure.
So 1983, that's the year we're doing, right? Yeah.
The year of your Lord.
There's never been a more bigger discrepancy between one cast member. Still hearing, look it up. It's all right. I don't mind it. There's never been a bigger discrepancy in SNL's history in cast members between when Eddie Murphy was on. It was the Eddie Murphy show.
Sure.
It was not favored nations. Everybody's got their roles to play. If they were running an ad and TV guide, there'd be a picture of Eddie Murphy's face about this big. Maybe Piscopo would be like half that
Piscopo
size.
bicep
and then
in the
you'd
corner.
need like a microscope to see Kazrinsky or
Sure. Yeah.
Brad Hall.
Yeah.
So in 83, Murphy was feeling his oats a little bit, and he was like, hey, I've made 48 hours. That went pretty well. Maybe I'll leave the show. And I got this Trading Places thing coming out. Maybe I'll leave. And they panicked. Dick Ebersol panicked and was like, we can't have this. We have no show. So they did something unprecedented. It's never been done before or since in the long history of SNL. And one night in September 1983, September 21st, 1983, they taped a bunch of sketches, pre-tapes of Eddie Murphy's most lovable characters. And so they could sprinkle them in throughout the season and then give him shows off.
Right.
So his contract, which was he was still paid more than anybody else, he only had to appear in half the shows, and then the other half he appeared in these pre-tapes. And
I've been thinking about doing that on this show.
Yeah, I think that
Just
make for
pre-tape some
Your
things.
son was really willing to step in for you
Yeah,
tonight.
just pre-tape some stuff talking about Star Wars or something, and then take the night off.
So there were. I'm not going to go through the list. There were a couple of Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood that they taped early, but the best one that they did a pre-tape for was, of course, one of my personal favorites, James Brown's Liberty Hot Tub Party. That was one of the pre-tapes.
Too hot in the hot tub.
So anyway, I guess that is my. And then of course he left after the 83-84 season, but I think they
And was
gave.
never heard from again.
Well, that's partially true, isn't it? It's Vampire in
I mean,
Brooklyn.
it waited a few years and then they disappeared.
But it gave the producers time to think of a plan, and then they went with the All-Star season the year after that. So that is my number 10, Eddie Murphy's pre-tapes.
We have one of our Facebook Live viewers, Mr. Andrew Carter Nelson, who says that the answer to your trivia question must be Jake Lee.
Jakey Lee, that is correct.
Ooh,
Nice
what does he
job.
win?
Well
what,
done.
what does he win?
Nice job, Carter.
We got any of those Firehouse things?
No.
Did they get a deal on Tuesday?
We should talk about that. Can I mention that real quickly?
I would love it if you did.
I would love it.
On Tuesday, the 13th, which is 2 days from now, go to Firehouse Subs over there on Grand Avenue between the hours of 5 and 8. And say you are there for the Sun Prairie Media Center fundraiser. You will need to show them a flyer that we have on our Facebook page, and we're going to put it up there again and again in the next couple of days, so it's easy to find. You have to show. You can show it to them on your phone. We have flyers if you are down here at the media center, but it's probably easier just to get it off your phone. And we'll get 15% of your sale.
There you go. We want that. I said we're fundraising tonight. We're making money.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. My number 9 selection for the year of 1983 is TV debuts of 1983. I have a few things. First one is The A-Team. There's a song on there if you want it. The A-Team debuted 1983. Oh, listen to that. Great theme song. Love this.
Isn't this the T.J. Hooker theme song?
The A-Team debuted, lasted through 1987. Very smart. You turn it down just a little bit. Oh, that's all I can hear in my head. Thank you. Is the utilization of a white-hot Mr. T. 1983, Mr. T was everywhere. you know, it had this cartoonish violence to it. You know, cars, trucks, everything always flipped over, exploded, and then the bad guys got out and walked away because nobody dies. Nobody gets hit with a bullet in the A-Team. They're all really formulaic. Every episode has the same plot. We go into a town. Somebody needs us, you know, Seven Samurai style, because there's a bad landowner or something that's taking over. And then we'll come in, and then there'll be a montage sequence where Mr. T turns a go-kart into a tank. And then...
that was MacGyver.
No. It was every episode of the A-Team.
That was the Hulk.
Stop, and he would be welding stuff, and he would turn somebody's golf cart into an all-terrain vehicle every single time. And he would just blow stuff up, and then the bad guys, and then they'd have to get out of town before Colonel Decker came rolling in, because as the narration told you before, these guys are they're wanted for crimes that they claim they didn't commit in Vietnam. If you can find them and you can hire them, maybe you can get the A-Team.
Who was the wacky guy? The comic
Murdoch.
relief Murdoch.
Hull and Mad Murdoch.
Thank you.
You got Face, played by Dirk Benedict. You got George Papard as Hannibal Smith, who loves it when a plan comes together.
And who was the female? The token
She was
female.
only on there for 2 seasons. I can't remember who it was.
Okay.
But it's Mr. T. You know, and I love the intro to it because it shows, you know, they throw a little Battlestar Galactica into there. A Cylon walks by. I love this show. Iconic van, the A-Team van. I wanted that in the worst way. I wanted that black GMC van.
So this is not like a guilty pleasure. This is a pleasure.
Pleasure. Anyways, I talked enough about this. This is ridiculous. This is just a list. The Joy of Painting, 1983. Bob Ross came on the air and was on until 1994. Bob Ross brought us Happy Little Trees. Just the simple, relaxing, positive vibes of Bob Ross, his paints, and that afro. Love some Bob Ross.
I know someone with a Bob Ross tattoo, and in his afro it says "Happy Little Trees."
Good man.
I heard he was really into grandma porn.
I love Bob Ross. Anyways, and then the last one is a miniseries that debuted in 1983 that I loved. The miniseries started off in 83 as a 2-part miniseries. The next year came back with 3 more parts, and then was followed with a 19-episode weekly series. Came back in 2009 and had another run, and they are currently in production on the movie right now in 2018. Great series starring Mark Singer, a.k.a. Beastmaster himself, as the man who is realizing that these people that came down in these motherships that look like us, they're always wearing sunglasses and have these weird voices, finds out that if you peel their faces off, reptile humans underneath. I love this series. I love everything about V.
Weren't there like 2 or 3 of them? Wasn't there like a V, then a V the Final Frontier, and then a weekly series?
If I only had said these things. You legitimately do not listen while I talk, do you?
All he heard was wrestling.
I heard Mark Singer, and I thought you were talking about Beastmaster.
Yeah. So I'll do it again. 1983, there was a 2-part miniseries. 1984, a 3-part miniseries, and then a 19-episode run that came on from 84 to 85. Then in 2009, they returned with another series that went until 2011. And currently, they are working on a V the Movie. Look at me while I'm talking to you. V the Movie is currently in production now in 2018.
Hey, they doing one of those movies?
Yeah. So there you go. That's my number 9 TV debuts. A-Team, Joy of Painting.
Who starred in that?
V. Mark Singer, the Beastmaster.
Was Stephanie Kramer in that?
Nope.
Oh my God.
I don't remember who played Diana. She was the head of the bad guys. Yeah, lizard people. All right.
NBC.
It was. It?
All right. For my number 9, I've got a Smith song that came out, and it's called This Charming Man. This is my favorite Smith song, and this is a fun little video.
Can I help you with that?
You were
You guys spilling on each other?
I spilled something in my lap. He was about to help me.
Get in there. Lick it up.
Oh, God.
This Charming Man by the Smiths. Johnny Marr, as well as Morrissey, wrote this beautiful song. If you've seen the video, it basically takes place in some unfinished or partially finished basement, and there's just a bed of flowers, and Morrissey's got a bouquet that he's swimming around, and he's got most of his he maybe has one button, like near the belly button, is buttoned on all of his shirts, and 4 different chains. He almost looks like a Mr. T wannabe.
Starter set.
Yeah, he's got the starter set. I just love this song, and you don't hear this covered ever because you can't do it. There's 16 different tracks of guitar, including parts where Johnny Marr is dropping knives on a guitar to create this really weird kind of jangy sound. And I love some of the lyrics in the song. Why conquer life's complexities while the leather rides smooth on the passenger seat? Oh, it's just beautiful. Check out this video if you ever get a chance. It's a nice one. Jeff Robbins, you big on the Smiths?
I like How Soon Is Now. That's a good song.
Okay.
Is it cool if I don't like the Smiths?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I prefer the Smithereens.
If anyway, okay. Is that a cover band?
Smithereens? You don't know the Smithereens?
Sing
Just
a little.
kidding.
hum a
Yeah,
couple
what do you
bars
got?
for me.
White Castle Blues?
Oh, I had those a few weeks ago. Yikes. Not good.
I had the White Castle Browns.
There. That's what we're doing tonight, kids.
There you go. All right, for my number 9, that is This Charming Man by the Smiths. And
what album is that off of?
The album that it's off of didn't come out until 84. However, this but this single and video was released in 83.
So I hear that Jane Dadler was Diana in V, the miniseries.
What was her name?
Jane Dadler.
I don't think that's right.
That's what our man here on the Facebook Live tells us.
Yeah.
He's hooked up to the IMDb.
We'll have our research staff look into
Please
that.
do that. When the music stops.
My number
There
9.
it is.
Hi. Coming at you, 1983. Jameson, you did TV debuts.
I did.
I'm sorry we didn't cover V because that was really. I'm
Yeah,
surprised
I
you,
know. I'm sorry I missed that one.
surprised you missed that one. My number 9, I've got debut albums, and by debuts I mean first albums.
That makes sense.
By new artists.
That checks out.
Yeah. So in '83 we had some big ones here. I'm gonna go from most important to, or I'm going from least important to most important. Suicidal Tendencies came out in '83. Big fan. Institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It was the least important of this list. I guarantee it.
But I'm working my way up. Violent Femmes came out in '83. That was their first album, and Blister in the Sun was on that album,
Yeah.
eponymous album. Weird Al Yankovic came out. He's still going strong, that Weird Al, making those funny songs. This first album I had when I was a kid, absolutely loved it. Another one, Rides the Bus.
His most recent
Rocky
album
Road.
was his most successful album, even all these years later.
He's got staying power, that Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anybody. You would think that somebody would have
Filled his space.
ripped him off enough to the point where he would have been.
Can you parody
less
the parody though? That's second level stuff. That's Inception.
Well, can
level.
you just like
Do what he does.
do what he does, but
Like
then
better?
but do it better and sexier?
No, nobody does it better.
Okay. So there's this. Another Rides Bus. This album also had Ricky,
My
which was
Baloney.
takeoff on Mickey,
Yes.
My Baloney, and Rocky. I Love Rocky Road.
Ah.
Yeah. So yeah, big fan of that when I was a kid. What else we got here? Oh, we got Husker Du came out in 1983. One of my favorites. Of course, I was born and raised in the lovely state of Minnesota, so we got a little Everything Falls Apart in 1983, and maybe we're gonna hear a little. Oh, you got Metal Circus there. That's good too. That also came out in '83. It's Not Funny Anymore is a good track. Let's hear that. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Okay, what else in '83? We had Husker. This is Husker Du. REM came out. They had some staying power. They were on for a long time.
They were.
Came out with Murmur, jangly guitars, cryptic lyrics, kind of the softer side of alternative rock.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. First album had Radio Free Europe, Sitting Still. It was a big hit. People, well, it wasn't a big hit, but it got it got a lot of notices.
I mean, they were really
Kind of a cult. They were a cult band until
They were
'89.
like the first big college radio band that you
Yes.
heard about. Like that's where they started to grow, was college radio.
Yes. And then, of course, probably the biggest debut in 1983 would be somebody that I know Jameson has had a relationship with for several years, but he's worried that he doesn't want to talk about it very much. Madonna came out in 1983 with her first album, which was a big hit. We were talking Holiday, we're talking Burn It Up, we're talking Borderline was on that album. I think was Lucky Star on that album.
You might be my
I think
lucky
Lucky Star was on that album. That was, and she was a hit right away.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't write it down, but also in '83, Cyndi Lauper.
Right.
And in '83, it was like, who's gonna survive? Who's gonna have the staying power? Is it Cyndi Lauper or Madonna?
Right. Both with similar early '80s fashion sense.
Yeah, and just fun songs.
Yeah.
So that is my number 9 debut albums of 1983.
Nice.
Thank you.
That means it's my turn for my number 8. And for my number 8, I have debut albums of 1983.
Wow.
My list is not as comprehensive as yours. It's a little different. But I'm glad you're playing the song because I had Madonna
How can you not?
on mine. I also had the Weird Al. What was most interesting about the Weird Al album, the self-titled Weird Al album, was there was only 5 parodies on a 12-song album.
But that's what he does.
But no, as it moved along, it would become more top-heavy for parodies as to originals.
I don't know about that.
I mean, look at his most recent
and
5 albums.
I thought the one that has
probably 80%.
gangsters or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Are you
It's
counting?
Coolio and
They're probably
Nevermind,
80%
Nirvana.
parodies.
Are you counting the polka, the polka medley that he always does?
Well,
is that a,
I don't
is that
think
a
that
cover?
counts as anything, really.
Okay.
I mean, because
Or a
that's
parody,
just
I should say.
everyone has that now. But,
Okay.
I mean, he's leaned heavily into the parodies, but this one had 7 originals. You talked about a lot of it. And then, very similar, the Weird Al of their genre, Metallica's Kill 'Em All came out in 1983. Groundbreaking thrash metal album.
Does that count as their debut?
Yeah.
Really?
It was their first
Yeah, the
album.
Did they have an EP out before that? or something?
No Life Till Leather, but it was a lot of the same songs, and
Yeah.
this is the
Okay.
first real
This was
something to
their
sink your
first
teeth into. That
record
wasn't just,
label album to come out. Pretty great stuff.
I should have included that one on my list. Thank you.
sure should
I
have.
sure should have.
These guys talk about staying power, still getting it done, and reinvented themselves several times. Sometimes it didn't always work. Sometimes people did not want the reinvention.
Would you compare the Metallica cutting off their hair and doing the Black Album to Kiss taking off the makeup?
Yeah, really. I mean, do you remember how massive that was? The
Yeah.
backlash when they cut their hair, and oh man, But I mean, to do an entire album with a symphony orchestra and just all the things that they've done, and the constant turnstile of bassists that they had, for a while, and still out there touring right now and getting it done. Pretty great, good stuff. So, all started with these kids in San Francisco back in the early '80s. Yep, there you go. That's what I got.
That was 3.
That was 3. That's all I needed. I work in 3s.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. You know when I
what I'm
talked
straight.
about the A-Team and Bob Ross, and then I didn't have anything else?
That was weird that you didn't cover anything else on that.
Okay, time for my number 8, and I'm talking about one of my favorite bands of all time. You mentioned REM, and they were instrumental in getting the Minutemen a little bit more publicity. But the Minutemen had an EP and an album come out in 1983. This is going to be our first musical break. It's not going to be a long one because they are the Minutemen for multiple reasons. The songs are not very long. The EP was Buzz or Howl Under the Influence of Heat. And the album is What Makes a Man Start Fires, starting off with Bob Dylan wrote propaganda songs, which is actually not a diss at Bob Dylan, or propaganda for that matter. But this is my favorite, one of my all-time favorite bands, and all 3 of these are just amazing musicians, and I wanted to play something off of What Makes a Man Start Fires. So here it is. The song is called Life is a Rehearsal. I hope you enjoy
Is
it.
this a full-length song now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a full-length song. I mean, it's a song, but I mean,
You're going to cut our mics.
I'm going to cut your mics right now.
Dude, I got some things to say.
All right. We got to have it out.
You're still on Facebook Live, though.
That was the Minutemen. Their song Life is a Rehearsal off of 1983's What Makes a Man Start Fires. Mike Watt actually wrote all of that album, even though he barely does any singing on it. So there you go, my number 8, the Minutemen EP and an album, Buzz or Howl Under the Influence of Heat, as well as What Makes a Man Start Fires. The song you heard is Life is a Rehearsal.
There you go. Very good. Did you get your list ready in the break?
Was that how does that relate to V? Are we still talking about V?
It was their
So-
5th release.
So
Jane Dadler.
all right,
Okay.
is it my turn?
Yep. That's why the camera's pointed at you.
I love it. I love when it's my turn to talk because I love to talk and I hate to listen.
Proven.
Yeah.
My number 8. Are we on number 8?
Yeah. Why not?
My number 8 is
No,
called...
we're not. We're number 7, aren't we?
No, we're on number 8. I haven't done my number 8
Oh,
yet.
yeah, I started. Never mind. Okay, go ahead.
Now who's not paying attention?
Obviously me.
My number 8 is called Bad Sequels and Ripoffs of 1983.
Oh, talk about it.
I like lists. I like lists within lists.
List within list. Very
Yeah,
meta.
That's what I'm doing. So these are some of the bad sequels that came out in 1983. Each one worse than the one before. Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever,
Had a lot of Frank Stallone in that.
which was, despite the fact that it had a lot of ballet in it too.
Didn't Sylvester direct it?
I believe he did.
Did.
Yeah.
What a weird.
Thus all the Frank Stallone music in it.
Yeah. Weren't you paying attention? Frank Stallone. What was the big hit
You
song
guessed
from
it.
that?
When
Frank
would I-
Stallone.
Yeah.
What was the big Frank Stallone song from that?
Staying Alive.
Can't do it or can't hold back or
Can't do that.
look it up. Far From Over. That's the one. Far From Over. Let's hear that. Oh,
Oh yeah, this one.
digging it.
Good God.
Oh, I can just feel. I just want to dance. I want to flash dance right now. Yeah. This,
So was this a play? Or this was a movie, not a play,
yeah,
right?
It was a movie. It was
okay.
a sequel to Saturday Night
Well,
Fever.
it's just like
No, it
some
was
of
a
the
book.
stuff that I saw.
It was written by Neil Simon.
Was awful. I didn't understand like the monsters and the smoke and the some of the dancing. I don't know what was going on. And what are you gonna like? He's gonna strut, right? That's what he said.
yeah.
What?
Like there's like a woman and he's Jonathan Travolta is talking to this woman. And it makes it seem like he's gonna tell her he loves her. He's gonna kiss her. He's like, you know what I'm gonna do, and
Because that's the whole thing from
she-
Saturday Night Fever.
And
I
he
gotta
goes,
strut.
I'm gonna strut.
Yeah, that's the end of Saturday Night Fever.
Superman 3 also came out in
Ugh.
1983, which following two pretty good Superman movies, they wanted to add a little comic relief, so they had brought in Richard Pryor.
No, thank you.
It did not go very
The
well.
only thing I like about that one is the
It's
junkyard fight
Oh.
of good Superman and bad, drunk Superman and good Superman when they fight in the junkyard and Clark Kent kills Superman.
Fair enough.
I like that.
We talked a lot about last week about the Sting. Well, in 1983 saw the Sting 2.
That's right.
And if you can't get Paul Newman and Robert Redford, why not get Jackie Gleason and Mac Davis? Why not?
Were they the same characters? They
No, I don't think
oh,
so.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Then we had Porky's 2 the next day. You know, the first Porky's was good, clean, lighthearted fun, a lot of nudity. The second one, they
Clean.
Well, there was that shower scene.
Shower scene.
The second
well
one,
done.
The second one, they
Pigman
decide.
likes the shower
The
scene.
second one had something to do with they're doing Shakespeare, and there's going to be an interracial kiss, and the Ku Klux Klan show up. And
They always do, too.
It's all of a sudden we're seeing like a serious movie, and it's Porky's 2.
Yeah.
Come on, it's Porky's 2. Jaws 3D came out in 1983.
Oh.
Which Jaws 1 and Jaws 2, well, Jaws, obviously the first Jaws classic. Jaws 2, not too bad, and then it just went downhill quickly. Bess Armstrong, one of my least favorite actresses, I think Bess Armstrong was in Jaws 3.
So Jaws 3 was not. I get confused. Jaws 3 and Jaws 4. Which
Jaws-
one had Michael Caine?
Jaws 4,
Okay.
The Revenge.
Yeah,
Jaws the
that's
Revenge.
right. Jaws 3 had some horrible CGI.
It was,
That
it was,
shark
well, it
coming
was,
through the
it was,
screen?
it was 3D,
Yeah, it was horrible.
but it looked very bad. Yeah, it was not.
It was dated
not
when it
impressive.
came out.
And then, so for my rip-offs portion of this list, two TV shows that came out in 1983 that were rip-offs. We had a show called We Got It Made, which was basically a rip-off of Three's Company. Instead of a man and two women, we had a woman and two men. And the woman was the maid, played by Terry Copley, who was famous for about 10 or 15 minutes back in the day. You don't recall We
I
Got
don't
It
remember
Made?
the show. No,
Didn't last very long.
I've never.
But it was very much like a, Terry Copley looked very much like Suzanne Summers, and she was braless for most of the show, and did that kind of thing like Suzanne Summers did back in the day. Thank you. And then Webster premiered in 1983, which was really a blatant ripoff of Different Strokes because it's a young, cute African American kid with some sort of hormonal thing that causes
taken
him
in
to
by
not
affluent white.
taken
folks.
in by rich
Mr.
white folks.
Papadopoulos.
Now, of course, Philip Drummond was a widower,
Right.
but of course, Alex Karras had Susan Clark. They were married, so
Yeah.
that was the big difference.
Sure. I did not like Ma'am either.
Ma'am.
Did not like. That's what he always called her, Ma'am. Mr.
So that's-
Papadopoulos and Ma'am.
That's my number 8. Bad sequels and ripoffs of 1983.
I have Porky's. Like I got a 2-pack Porky's and Porky's the next day. I probably watched Porky's 2 one time and never again. It was 15 years ago.
I'm impressed you got through it.
I am too.
Now, Porky's Revenge is not as bad,
No.
but Porky's 2 is very forgettable.
All right. My number 7, 1983. We're talking about all these debuts, debut albums, debut movies. I'm talking about the finale of something. 1983, the finale of M.A.S.H. Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen aired February 28th, 1983, a 2.5-hour long send-off to what was one of the more successful television series of its time. And I mean, this is still to this day referenced. Like when you talk ratings, like, well, it's no M.A.S.H. finale. I mean, Jeff, you're a man from TV. What does a 60.2 rating do? What does a 77 share mean in parlance of television? Is that good?
I believe that those figures have yet to be beaten. Now, the number of people that watched a particular broadcast that has been topped
Because we have
we have more
screens.
people. We have
Right.
more people,
But like the
basically.
share of percentage of households with a TV, so that's 77%
This
of
really
people
isn't.
with television.
This is not the theme song to M.A.S.H.
This
by the
isn't.
way.
I know.
We need
It's,
Suicide is Painless. It's on there.
oh, I did. I just didn't think.
What was it? 77 share.
77 share.
That means that out of everybody watching TV, 77% of those people were watching
Right.
M.A.S.H., which is unheard of.
They say 125 million viewers, and at the time there were only 83 million households with TVs.
Well, but they had households had more than one
Right.
person. Right.
Yeah. Still, just an unbelievable thing. I love the urban legend, which has been disputed about New York sanitation and their plumbing system, that when M.A.S.H. ended, within 3 minutes of the end of M.A.S.H., they said that 77% of New York toilets were flushed, and it overloaded their system because everyone was holding it for the end of the episode. And then within 3 minutes of the end, everyone in New York was flushing their
You think
toilets.
that's a myth?
I don't know. I do think that it's very conceivable. I don't know. Did they overload their systems and blah blah blah? But I mean, yeah. I mean, if everyone's watching it, everyone's holding their Diet Pepsi down until the show. Their tab. The tab goes right through you.
I was 11 when that premiered. When that aired, excuse me,
Right.
when that aired, and
You turn 12 later on.
yeah, we covered that.
Yep.
I had never watched M.A.S.H., but it was just like, it was kind of like you had to buy Rumors when that came out. Fleetwood Mac. You had to watch M.A.S.H. and so
Right.
I didn't know who any of the characters were.
Okay.
I didn't really know what the show was about, but you had to watch it because
Yeah.
that's what everybody else was doing.
Right. Got to be able to talk about it at school the next day.
Of course.
Guys, what do you think of Klinger?
Klinger got married in that episode.
A lot of stuff happened.
Sure.
Yeah. Did you watch After M.A.S.H.?
That came out in '83. I could have put that on my list of bad sequels.
You sure could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, what was the thing I missed? Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
No, I never watched After M.A.S.H.
Yeah.
And then there was also a show called Walter, which was Radar O'Reilly's real name, but it never got picked up. So
Okay.
they produced a pilot, but it never got picked up.
That's probably for the best.
I think you can find it on the YouTube.
It's probably nobody wants to watch Radar just bum around
I
living in
think
his
the
parents' house.
So who was on the After M.A.S.H.? You had the William Christopher, the father Mulcahy.
Right.
Then you had Harry Morgan.
Harry Morgan.
And you had Jimmy Farr.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah. Not the three characters I'd
Yeah,
most
not
want
the
to
most,
see.
not the most charismatic of the crew. But yeah, anyways, M.A.S.H. massive stuff. So there we go.
That's your number 7.
That's my number 7.
Interesting.
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 Yeah, that leads us to Mr. Danu.
All right, for my number 7, I've got my first appearance of a movie. I'm going with Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. Jeff Robbins, you talked about Eddie Murphy a little bit earlier, and his SNL kind of being the first ever star of the show, or it really was the Eddie Murphy show. I think this is one of the best movies of the 1980s. I know it seems a little low on my list, but there's some other great stuff to come. But I feel like maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I feel like we're going to be talking about Trading Places later in the show. So, maybe it's skippable. Anyway,
What about that Jamie Lee Curtis?
I really like her in this, but
She's the hooker with the heart of gold.
she is the hooker with the heart of gold. But I still the True Lies scene, the striptease. Oh man,
Who's your daddy and
That's-
what does he do?
that's still my favorite Jamie Lee Curtis. Love Halloween 1 and 2 as well.
What's your
but
favorite Eddie Murphy movie? Either one of you.
I think it's probably
What's
this
that one with the haunted house?
Haunted Mansion.
I think it's probably this one.
Okay.
I think this is a very good movie. I do love the first two Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Those are good.
Or it's 48 Hours. I guess
Daddy Daycare?
I'm early Eddie Murphy. What do
No
you
Coming to America?
That's your favorite, right? When we did that in '88, I think.
good.
It goes down a lot of points because of Arsenio Hall.
What?
Not an
Arsenio was
Hall
on top
fan.
of the world.
You
at
ever
that
seen his
time.
interview with the Ultimate Warrior?
Oh, that's great stuff. Love me some Arsenio.
I saw his interview with Andrew Dice Clay where he made Andrew Dice Clay cry. That was pretty exciting. That was good television.
Nice man, big tough guy. Trading Places.
Trading Places is so good it gets a whole spot on your list all to itself.
I did not do any combining for movies on my
you
list or albums.
Are you more of a
Leave
Ralph?
that to me.
Are you more of a Ralph Bellamy guy or a Don Amici guy?
Oh, good question.
I like Alan Amici.
John
Oh,
Landis.
it's a
John
great touchdown.
Landis.
Yeah.
John Landis directed this, correct?
Yes.
I just liked seeing Dan Aykroyd in something that wasn't terrible. This came out right after I think Dr. Detroit.
Dr. Detroit came out in '83 as well.
Oh, it did.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking 82.
Yeah.
But okay, good for you. I mean, I
Good for you.
I just meant
So
thank you for
dismissive.
thank you for. I meant thank you for setting me straight.
Okay.
That was shorthand. But yeah, it came off snotty. I didn't mean it to. Okay. Which came out first? Dr.
I believe
Detroit?
Dr. Detroit was like March.
Yeah, because I remember seeing Trading Places and thinking, oh, at least Dan Aykroyd's in something halfway
Yeah.
decent.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to do my.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, my number 7 is sad to me.
Oh, geez. Here we go. Bring it down.
So-
The bring it down moment of the show.
So in 1983, 1983 saw the. I was a young boy. I was 11 at this time.
Established.
Yes. I like to put things in the proper
Yeah,
context.
you paint a picture like Bob Ross.
So my favorite TV show in 1983, and it's not even. There was no second place. You know, it was this, and then there was
V.
right. So I watched a lot of. I was a big fan of SCTV, Second City Television, and there wasn't as much. There wasn't the internet back in '83.
Pre-internet, we call that.
Right. So I was my 11-year-old self, and I was just enjoying the SCTV and not thinking anything bad could happen. One day I opened up the newspaper, the Minneapolis Tribune or the Star or whatever it was back then, and I read an article that's getting canceled.
By God.
And I was dismayed and disheartened and disillusioned.
Didn't know this could happen. Thought it would be on forever.
I was, as long as Joe Flaherty is alive, why
Right.
can't they keep putting this out? So in 1983, we saw the cancellation from NBC of SCTV, which is I've already established my favorite show, and then it was canceled for this abomination called Friday Night Videos, which of course
I remember bringing this up to you one time off air. Like, remember Friday Night Videos? And a
that's
chill
a sore,
filled the room.
That is a sore spot with me. So I mean, SCTV, whether you liked it or not, it was quite an expensive show to produce. I can imagine because it was like SNL, but it was taped, and they did some fairly intricate parodies, which were not cheap to do, I'm sure. So then they replaced it with a show that cost literally nothing.
Right.
It was nothing but music videos.
Showing videos.
And it worked because even in 1983, though MTV was well known, a lot of the country didn't have cable TV yet.
This is the only way I got to watch music videos for a long time.
Right,
So we
here's
didn't
a-
have cable until '89.
Well, so here's the thing. Either did I. We didn't have cable either. So eventually, after, my heart was repaired.
Your heart went on.
My heart went on. I, too, became kind of a closet fan of Friday Night Video. I felt dirty. I felt bad about
You'd
it.
punch yourself in the nuts while
But
you
I'd
were
be
watching
like,
it.
where else am I going to see the video for Rappin' Rodney
Right.
or a little Genesis That's All, or maybe Owner of a Lonely Heart or Karma Chameleon?
Rodney is the best.
I love Rappin' Rodney. Dr. Vinny Boom Bots.
Yeah.
So I did sort of become a closeted fan of Friday Night Videos, which premiered in July of 1983 and actually ran until May of 2002. It's hard to
Oh my Lord.
it's hard to believe that show
Were they
lasted
showing
almost.
videos after MTV stopped? I mean,
Well, they-
2002.
They did this
Oh my
thing.
God.
They did it. It was Friday Night Videos, and then it became Friday Night.
Yeah.
So Letterman eventually expanded to Friday nights, and then they pushed Friday night videos back a half hour, or I guess an hour, and then it became kind of a cross between videos and maybe some stand-up comedy, and there was usually a host involved. And it was sort of a mishmash of crap.
Nobody watched.
But it was cheap to produce, and so it lasted 20 years.
They're like, if we can't get the Byron Allen show in syndication, let's get Friday nights.
Yeah, well, it was an NBC show. It wasn't a syndicated show.
That's true.
So that is my number, just for the record, just SCTV went on, did another year on Cinemax. I think it was the first original programming on Cinemax.
Oh, let's get randy.
But, well, actually, it was the same show, but yeah. So that's my number 7, the cancellation of SCTV, the premiere of Friday Night Videos.
I saw a single tear went on your cheek when you were talking about that. It's okay.
It still haunts me to this day.
I know it hurts. It hurts. My number 6 is something that I'm calling Ready to Rumble. 1983, really remarkable year for this. 2 movies came out that had many similarities to them. So March 25th, 1983, the movie The Outsiders came out. We talked about this when we talked about the novel, but
we did.
Based on the S.E. Hinton novel that every kid except for Jeff apparently had to read in school. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Heard of him.
Famously successful cast of mostly unknowns at the time.
C. Thomas Howell,
Ralph Macchio, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Diane Lane, Tom Cruise, Leif Garrett. Just an incredible
Leif Garrett
cast.
was in that movie?
Yeah, he was the bad guy.
Wow. Didn't he run over somebody?
Yeah.
Like in real life?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then, as this film was in production, Francis Ford Coppola said, I want to try and keep this train rolling. I really like this. I want to keep some of these cast members together. So on the off days of working on The Outsiders, he got S.E. Hinton to come in, and they wrote the screenplay from her book, Rumblefish. They adapted her book into a screenplay as he was working on The Outsiders. Outsiders wrapped. They started immediately in the same city. They're both of them shot in Tulsa. Everything used, and they're all very similar in time period. Only this one was shot. Rumblefish looks way different. It's all black and white.
Right.
But it's Coppola, it's S.E. Hinton, it's Matt Dillon as the star of it, basically playing the Dally character all again, except for, if you don't know his name, it's Rusty James. And they say Rusty James literally every 2 minutes that name is said throughout the movie. It was like 147 times they say Rusty James. Rusty James. Matt Dillon is in this. You also have Diane Lane back in this. You have a very young Mickey Rourke, Dennis Hopper, Tom Waits, a very young Lawrence Fishburne, young Nicolas Cage.
Well, Lawrence Fishburne was in Apocalypse Now.
He was, but he was like 12 in that. And Vincent Spano. It's black and white about these greasers. Matt Dillon's character is he part of a gang? It's like an R-rated version of Outsiders / West Side Story. It's shot. The cinematography is just crazy. All these shadows. There's splashes of color. Like the whole movie's black and white, except for when the Mickey Rourke's fish are there, then they're brightly colored. Mickey Rourke is doing this. He's doing a real homage to early Brando. He's the leader. He's the older brother to Matt Dillon. He's the big guy that everyone looks up to in the gang, and he's doing a young Brando talk real quiet. In fact, they used to call this Mumblefish when he was on set because they had a hard time understanding what he was saying. A really, really interesting movie. I don't know if Rumblefish is great. But it's interesting, and it's odd that it came out, 6 months after The Outsiders.
You got it on Criterion?
I do.
Nice.
Yeah, I just watched it again this week in preparation. But yeah, so Ready to Rumble, The Outsiders and Rumblefish both came out in the same year.
Oh, I really like that.
Yeah, good stuff. What are we listening to? What do we got here?
This is Gloria. The reason I'm playing this is because the song is played multiple times throughout the movie,
Yes,
The Outsiders.
Yes, it is.
But now to a couple other songs not played in The Outsiders. I'm calling this music videos of '83. These are my 2 favorite music videos. Well, I shouldn't say that. 2 videos that I really love. I got Kaja Gugu, Too Shy.
Hush Hush.
That's right. As well as Culture Club.
So it's not the
Karma
song
Chameleon.
you like, it's the video you like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay. The songs are fun 80s songs. However, these videos absolutely crack me up. So you're listening to Too Shy right now, which is basically just them in a smoky set playing the songs. But they have maybe depending on who you are, the best or the worst 80s haircuts. Like the singers got, and as well as the drummer, kind of have like the skunk thing going on, where it's bleach blonde down the middle, the rest of it's black. The bass player, who doesn't even know what's going on during the whole show, has an afro, yet there's like these small dreadlocks coming off the sides. I mean, it really is unbelievable. Oh my god, they like, just for the hairstyles alone, this is worth watching. I love just their interactions with each other, and like, does the singer care that he's there? I'm not sure. Sometimes he's having fun. Sometimes he looks shy himself. And they do that great move where they're like, he's back to back with a guitar player, and he kind of shoulders him off and takes away the spotlight, and oh man, it's just adorable. And the other one is the Culture Club and the song Karma Chameleon. Now, for whatever reason, this video takes place in Mississippi in 1870.
Why not?
And
down on the banks of the great Mississippi.
And you've got like these like French soldiers and riverboat gamblers and people walking the plank.
They're all the freaks, the people that are different, just like Boy George.
I guess. I mean, and even with all this weirdness going on, he still sticks out like a sore thumb with his multicolored dreadlocks sides.
The dude
and
could rock a dress and some eyeliner, though, man.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Boy George liked his heroin.
Yeah, he did.
He really enjoyed his heroin.
Kiss took off the makeup, and Boy George put it all on.
I remember my grandpa being really upset when my cousin came home with the Tiger Beat or whatever, had Boy George on the cover. My grandpa being confused and then finding out it was a guy. Him not being happy. I remember that. That was my first experience with Boy George, because I didn't know. I'm a kid. I'm 6.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were 6 during this.
Correct.
This year.
I was this many.
I saw this video on Friday Night Videos.
Yeah, who didn't? This was top and bottom of the hour in 1983.
I remember this video very well. I don't remember the Kajagoogoo video.
It's not like all-time great. It really is just them it is them playing, but their look was worth putting on my list. So I had a lot of fun watching these. I probably watched each of these 3 or 4 times this week for this
unlimited time. So watching these 4-minute videos over and over again, braggart.
Yeah, just keep them rolling. So there you go. The music videos of 1983, Kajagoogoo, as well as Culture Club.
There were other music videos in 83.
There were, no, and I may
We'll
or may
talk
not.
about 'em.
Yeah, I may or may not get to one coming up here, but
wow, that's a tease.
That's
What they call a tease. Does one of the videos you have coming up feature Phil Collins?
I can't answer that.
Wow.
But
I
maybe
thought that'd be a quick no.
Maybe it doesn't, but it involves. I might have a trivia question related to one of these music videos, so stick around for that as well.
Well, that's. I'm going to stick around. That's,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
It's good promotion. My number 6 is I'm calling this the year of Tom Cruise, or you can call it Tom Cruise
Before he got his teeth fixed.
breaks open. Tom Cruise breaks wide.
He does a lot of things.
So these are not. He didn't debut in 1983 on the silver screen because he was in Endless Love, which came out in 81. He was also in the movie Taps, which also came out in 81.
Yeah.
But to 83, he was in no less than 4 films. You mentioned The Outsiders. So
Was All the Right Moves 83?
All the Right Moves was 1983. He plays a football player.
Yeah, I like that movie.
From like a steel town. And I was just reading the plot while one of you was talking. I wasn't listening. Yeah.
Jesus.
And I have seen All the Right Movies, but not for many years. But I don't remember a bloody thing about it except for Leah Thompson's nude scene.
Yeah. Right.
Caroline?
Caroline in the City. Yeah. So he was the unabashed star. The posters for All the Right Movies has, the very handsome Cruise
with his leather jacket
with
on,
a football and his, doing the
Heisman pose.
Thank you. Losing It. Oh, Losing It's a fine film. Have you seen Losing It? It's about 4 guys that want to get laid.
Oh,
This
sounds like a familiar plot from 1983.
Going to Mexico.
Yeah.
Trying to get some action with the ladies, and
boy.
along the way,
Going to a donkey show. Let's go, boys.
Along the way, who do they pick up?
Hooker with the Heart of Gold.
Well, kind of. They pick up a woman who's looking for a quickie divorce, and she's played by Shelley Long.
Boy.
Yeah, Shelley Long has had. Really
I would drive
good...
right on by if I saw Shelley Long with her thumb
Shelley
out.
Long's done very well for herself.
Thank you.
In the movie business.
You don't like Troop Beverly Hills?
I really True Beverly Hills I've actually seen because
Yeah.
I worked at a movie theater and that was in theaters, and boy, is that all. Mary Gross is in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Doesn't
you.
save anything.
And then also, of course, his biggest breakthrough role, of course, Risky Business, also came out in 1983.
Another hooker with a heart of gold.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yes.
And again, I haven't seen that in a long time, but there are some scenes from Risky Business
Like a subway scene that you remember?
that are indelibly etched into my mind. There's that. There's the famous subway scene. Of course, there's the dancing in the underwear scene.
Obviously.
Which, yeah.
I mean, that is one of the...
That is one of the
all things
iconic...
that Tom Cruise has done. That's probably like at the top of the list of like, can you think of one scene starring Tom Cruise?
When he dies, and I don't think he ever will. I think he's a
No,
robot.
he won't. Yeah.
He's a lizard person from
Absolutely, from V. We should talk
V.
about that.
Yeah.
sometime.
When they run the montage, that'll be the first
right
thing.
there. Him sliding.
That'll be
into,
like
into
yeah,
frame.
coming into the frame. Yeah, that's the thing. But also the guy that played Booger and he
Curtis
was in that movie.
Armstrong?
Yeah, and he had the you got to say what the f that was from that movie.
Yeah.
Something about piano in that movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course the car going into the ocean or
Right.
the river or the lake or something.
Yeah, some body of water.
But Risky Business, yeah, I would like to see that again. I haven't seen it for a while. It did pretty well, not only commercially, but the critics liked it as well. And so Tom Cruise, nothing much came of him after that. But
Right. It was unfortunate.
But that is my number 6, the year of Mr. Thomas
Cruise.
Loved Shelley Long in the TV movie Freaky Friday.
I hate everything about Shelley Long.
Do you hate the Diane Chambers character?
No, I don't.
Well, there you go. So
I don't hate her.
That is what she's best known for.
She
obviously.
annoys me, and I feel like she's
But that
supposed
character,
to annoy me.
yes, that was part of that character.
Yeah, very effective. Anyways, we'll be talking about that at another point. So here we are, number 5. You guys want to take a music break when I get to this?
Sounds good. Hey,
Okay.
it is 9 o'clock.
You're listening to 103.5 FM, WLSP LP, Sun Prairie,
my number
Wisconsin.
My number 5 is music related, so we can play one of these. My number 5 is one hit wonders of 1983. I think 1983 had the greatest year of one hit wonders. Not guilty pleasures. Well, some of these are guilty pleasures, but just great one hit wonders that just disappeared. And so I'm going to run off a list, and then I'll give you the one that I want at the end.
Okay.
But we had Dexy's Midnight Runners with "Come On Eileen."
I thought we had that on another show.
We did that on 84.
I don't know, whatever. It came out in '83 though, so
80. We
we haven't done 84 yet.
We
That's
did
going to be a
82.
3-hour show.
Oh yeah, it was our first episode.
Thomas Dolby, She Blinded Me with Science. Love that song. Taco was putting on the Ritz.
Oh, my God.
Whatever to Taco. Wall
got
of
eaten.
Wall of Voodoo, speaking of taco, with Mexican Radio. Modern English, I Will Melt With You. You talked about Kajagoogoo Too Shy. Men Without Hats, The Safety Dance. And then the one that I'm going to play us out with, one that I've had in my head all day long. Eddie Grant was talking about taking you down to Electric Avenue. There you go. We had an imposter Eddie Grant that somehow got into the system there.
I've heard that before, and it
Yeah.
frustrates the
I
heck
did
out
not
of me.
like that guy.
Yeah.
He showed up.
I
We had to get him out of
remember.
The white Eddie Grant.
here. Yeah.
So in '83, if I can do the math correctly, I was leaving 6th grade,
You were 11.
going to se-
Did we cover that?
going to 7th grade,
Sounds good.
and for the
I
last
was 6th grade going on 7th
for the
grade.
last day of school in 6th grade, we went to Skateville.
Yeah.
Indoor roller
Eddie Grant
rink.
was playing the roller rink.
I must have heard that song 600 times that day because somebody brought a boombox or a ghetto blaster, whatever you wanna call
Ghetto
'em,
Blaster, baby.
onto the bus, and we just played Electric Avenue over and over. And then we were at Skateville, and they played Electric Avenue over
hot.
and over. It was the song.
Yeah, that was a hot song of '83.
Whatever happened to Eddie Grant?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Let's look that up. Hey, anybody out there watching right now, listening, call into the station and let us know what happened to Eddie Grant. There we go. Anthony Deneau.
Here I am.
Isn't it your
you
turn?
are.
It is.
That was my number 5.
Usually when it's my turn, I'm very prepared
Right.
for it to be my turn.
That's might be a little bit of an overstatement.
The Muppets were created by puppeteer Jim Henson in the 50s.
To me, I don't know. It's like
They first appeared on the show Sam and Friends, and then they began appearing on Sesame Street in 1969.
Yeah. There you go. A lot of crossover.
not a crossover.
Okay. All right.
Are we ready for my number 5?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay.
We're just vamping.
We're just vamping.
We
vaping?
got a whole half hour to fill.
That's true. This is good, though, because we're halfway through our list, right?
Yep.
I'm rocking my number 5. You're listening to Metallica. The song is The Four Horsemen, because I'm talking about Kill 'Em All. This is the thrash masterpiece of Metallica that came out in 1983. As we spoke of a little bit earlier when Jameson talked about some debut albums, there was the No Life Till Leather EP thing that people had, but this was their first official release. And, some of the same songs, but redone, recorded in a more professional studio, if I'm not mistaken. Big year for Metallica in 1983. You have this album. They kicked out Dave Mustaine. Ironically, someone got kicked out of Metallica for drinking too much.
Yeah. Partying too hard.
Unbelievable. And these fellas now have their own liquor.
Yeah.
Seek and Destroy is what we played a little bit earlier. One of my favorite Metallica songs. Four Horsemen, as you're hearing now. The great Cliff Burton classic, Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, really showing off all that he can do. What are you doing right now?
I was just messing around.
I'm listening to you talk about
Totally,
Kill 'Em All.
totally listening.
Okay.
He's going to ask you why you don't have Metallica on your list.
Yeah, of course.
20 minutes.
Yeah. Did anybody talk about Metallica?
Did you know that Dave Mustaine was kicked out of Metallica?
No way. Dave Mustaine, though, to this day is still my favorite member ever of Metallica.
Really?
I really love the early Metallica. So, like during a baseball season, they might say, oh, the Brewers spent 44 days, or they had the most amount of days spent as the lead in the division this year, or whatever. For most of my life, I've thought that Kill 'Em All was Metallica's best record, but I'm now a Ride the Lightning guy, and I do think that is their best album. But Metallica, for just a straight thrash album, it really doesn't get much better than Kill 'Em All. I love this. I can listen to this beginning to finish. You got Whiplash is on here, some of the other tracks that I mentioned. I think this is an absolute masterpiece for thrash music, which is also my favorite kind of metal. So there you have it. Number 5, Kill 'Em All by Metallica.
How does thrash metal compare with speed metal?
Very, very similar, but I think that the difference, I think thrash would be, you could maybe attribute some of the things in thrash to like a combination of punk rock, whereas speed metal, I don't think it quite has the same kind of feel as that. So other like 80s thrash would, like Slayer, I think Show No Mercy probably came out in 1983. Some of the early Dave Mustaine, Megadeth albums, also like Killing Is Our Business and Business Is Good. Some of those first Megadeth albums also thrash, but speed metal is different than thrash.
What about hair metal?
This is going to end.
You got something for hair metal for your number 5?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm not a big hair metal guy.
I prefer Christian metal.
Oh, good.
Was the name of that?
Disturbed?
Striper? Was Striper?
Striper.
there? Yeah.
Yes.
Striper. John 3:16.
Yep.
Austin 316?
Are we done talking about Kill 'Em All?
We can
As
be
soon
if
as you
wanna
start
be.
talking about your number 5.
Did you want to talk about it?
It's a thrash masterpiece.
That's the thrasher piece.
My number 5, I've got another list within a list. So I'm talking now about the comedy classics of 1983, and looking back on the year, some of my favorite funny films came out in 1983. We already talked about Trading Places. I got that on my list. That's a funny movie.
Sure is.
You got the bum who joins forces with the stockbroker. What was the tagline for Trading Places?
Is that a trivia question?
Watch him trade places.
I think there was some sort of catchy tagline.
Sure.
Plus, you had Jim Belushi as an ape at the end, and you had Franklin and Davis at the end.
That's his best role.
Yeah, a film that maybe doesn't qualify as a comedy, but it has comedy in the title, and that's The King of Comedy.
That's not a very funny movie. It's
Jerry,
a great movie.
Jerry Lewis, one of Jerry Lewis's best roles, if not his best role.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro, Sandra Bernhard. That's a Martin Scorsese film. It's
I really like that movie.
It's a fine film. Check it out. Man with Two Brains, one of Steve Martin's most overlooked funny films.
I agree.
Is on here. Now we're moving up into A Christmas Story. Came out in '83. Of course, it is a Christmas tradition to watch A Christmas Story. We've all seen it 100 times. They're not just getting rich; they're getting even.
Is that the one you're looking for?
That's the one I
Okay.
was looking for. Yeah.
All right.
Christmas Story.
My legs. My legs.
Is that Trading Places?
Yeah, when they pull him off his skateboard at the beginning. It's a miracle. I can walk.
National Lampoon's Vacation. So the list of good Chevy Chase movies is pretty short.
A lot of them say National Lampoon's in front of them.
Well, I think one of them does.
You don't say Christmas?
I know you love Christmas Vacation.
It's a good movie.
I think it's overrated personally, but I love the original Vacation. That is one of the first R-rated films that I ever took to heart, and my parents loved it. I loved it. We watched it many times. Saw it in a drive-in theater for the first time. Great turn by Eugene Levy. Great turn by John Candy. Just so many good sections of that film. You ever bop your baloney?
Eugene Levy's great in that.
Putting
tiny role.
Imogen Coca on top of the car. Yeah. It's just a good film. I enjoy it.
Where do you put that in your rankings of Chevy Chase films? I mean, obviously you have nothing but trouble at the top.
They're driving through. I think these guys know the Commodores, and then
Lock 'em up.
they're rolling. I thought it was roll 'em up in the window. I thought it was roll 'em up.
You guys noticing all the plight?
Yeah. I think this is my favorite Chevy Chase film. You got Fletch would be number
that's my
2,
favorite, yeah.
and then I don't know if there's even a 3.
Fletch Lives.
Okay, Fletch, and then
Vegas
Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Yeah. What else?
Vegas.
You know what? I really love
Foul
Seems
Play?
Like Old Times.
Okay.
I like that more than Foul Play.
What about Modern Problems? He was really into the drugs around that time. Modern Problems. Yeah. Strange Brew, of course. I talked earlier about SCTV. This is the only film spun off. Of course, there's hundreds and thousands of films from Saturday Night Live characters. This is the only film that spun off any characters from SCTV. Of course, I'm talking about Bob and Doug McKenzie, Rick Moranis, and Dave Thomas. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great film. It's got things in it that I don't really know what they were going for. That guys under some sort of hypnosis playing hockey.
It took me a few watches to even understand the middle section of the movie.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. It's loosely based on Hamlet, but it holds a place in my heart.
I love when they're driving along and it's like, floor. He's like, brakes are out. Gonna have to floor. He's like, take off, eh? Stop the van. They're so good together.
Yeah, I mean the beginning is very funny when they're doing their low budget film, and then film breaks and they have to run away, and then and then really probably my favorite film on the list of comedy classics is going to be the final Monty Python film, and that is Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, which was they had made Life of Brian in '79, and it had done very, very well for them. It had, of course, it was helped by the controversy, but it was just like Holy Grail before it, but even more so. It was actually had a story, had a through line. Did very well for them. They were told, well, what you should do now is you should make another film as quickly as possible because this one did so well. And it was probably the first time that they really tried to do something for the buck. And, of course, they had a very hard time writing the film. It took them years, and so much so that they took a break and did some concerts and released Live at the Hollywood Bowl in '82. And finally, they shoved this out in '83, and it was. It's not their best film, but there are just moments in the film that are just outstanding. It's much grosser, much more violent than.
I'm kind of lukewarm on Meaning of Life.
You're lukewarm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't care for the Crimson Permanent Assurance. I think that is tough to sit through.
Yeah.
And you've got some great songs from that. I mean, they really they took the budget that Universal gave them and did something with it. It's certainly their biggest budgeted film.
Yeah.
You got Every Sperm is Sacred. You got the Galaxy song.
I'm not saying there's
Heaven.
not good things on it, but as a whole, I'm kind of lukewarm on it.
It's a step back because it's a sketch movie. I mean, I think
it's a Kentucky Fried Movie with a huge budget.
Right. I mean, it's the pieces don't necessarily fit. I mean, there's a birth thing at the beginning, there's a death thing at the end, but it isn't really a through line like I think they were going for. Mm-hmm. You've got live organ transplants. It's pretty gross. You've got Mr. Creosote, the world's fattest man.
Right.
That's pretty gross.
Right.
But yeah, I would agree. It's probably their weakest film. But hey, they never did anything else afterwards. So
There you go.
so it holds a just like Strange Brew. It holds a special place in my heart. So I feel like I've been talking for about an hour. So I'm going to stop talking about the comedy classics of 1983. But that is my number 5. Thank you.
All right. So for my number 4, I am going to talk about the comedy classics of 1983.
No, you're not.
Yeah, that's my number 4.
Jeez.
I have great comedies of 1983. And so I don't have much to talk about because you covered almost all of them except for one. So I have on my list Strange Brew, which I think is a great cult comedy classic.
Okay.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Check it off.
Trading Places.
Check it
I
off.
also have Mr. Mom. It's where I discovered Michael Keaton.
Sure.
And have been a big fan of his ever since. Missed him while he was gone for all of the early 2000s. Glad he's back now. But that was the first thing I saw Michael Keaton. I'm like, this guy's kind of funny. So those you've talked very eloquently about all the other movies. So
It's bizarre to think of a time when a male raising kids while the wife went
that's
off
a
to work.
plot that could support an entire film. Is
Yeah.
that and
Oh my, that's
just- here we go.
crazy.
Oh, what
was it
what-
science fiction?
But you know what? We upped the game a few years later. Now we get 3 guys raising a baby. Whoa, comedy.
Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah, you get the Goots in there and a baby. But yeah, Mr. Mom, I mean, it was like, well, wait a minute. What? My wife's going to go to work and I'm going to stay home
That's
with the
crazy.
kids?
This will never happen.
Cue James Brown's I Feel Good in the trailer. Just somebody's going to get peed on. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, Mr. Mom, good stuff. So there you go. I concur with your list of great comedy classics of 1983.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I was trying to think of more one-liners from Vacation, and I just was drawing a blank. I'm feeling bad about that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to work on that while Anthony talks.
I want the optional rally fun pack on my car. Oh, you don't want the Atlantic P?
Goodness. All right, for my number 4, it's my favorite movie of 1983. Jameson put this on his Let's Get Ready to Rumble, combining it with Rumble Fish. It's an S.E. Hinton book. Francis Ford Coppola does the movie. Future all-star cast. I mean, this is pretty unbelievable when you look at all the fellas in this. Emilio Estevez, C. Thomas Howell, who doesn't love Soul Man. We talked about that in one of our other 80s episodes. Really, C. Thomas Howell is the only one that didn't blow up.
You know what? He actually had a decent little run there in the 80s.
Yeah, Grandview USA. with
No,
Jamie
well,
Lee
I know, but
Curtis.
okay, but and how did he do in the 90s again?
Making the Grade with Judd Nelson.
Oh my God, get out of here!
Yeah.
He's I've seen him in a few
I mean,
things
Ralph
like
Macchio didn't do great in the 90s
yeah,
either.
that's fair, but
He
I
was
feel
my
like
cousin Vinny in a small role, and then see you later. Call me when Cobra Kai is ready in 2018.
C. Thomas Howell was he was on the first few episodes of the new Punisher Netflix series. I've seen him on like Law and Order, as bit roles,
He's a character
and
actor.
here and there. Yeah, he's a character actor, and I actually think he's gotten I think he's actually very good at it. I like when I do randomly when he does pop up in things. You're like, oh my God. I loved this book. I had to read it in 8th grade, as you said. I thought everybody did, but apparently not in Minnesota.
Right.
So I got to read the book.
Reading is hard.
I got to read the book before I saw the movie. It's one of my favorite books all time, and this is my favorite movie of 1983. I just think this is great. Diane Lane is such a fox in this movie. You also have S.E. Hinton has a small role. I think she's a nurse at the end when Matt Dillon's character is in the hospital. And Tom Waits, as you said, is in Rumblefish. I didn't know that, and he's got a small role in The Outsiders as well. So my number 4, my favorite movie of 1983 is The Outsiders.
All right.
What are you giggling about over there?
I was looking up Vacation quotes.
Jeez.
Enlighten us.
Well, there's the one scene where they're visiting the family, and the kid says, like, Rusty is talking to him. Hey, you got Pac-Man? And no. You got Space Invaders? No. You got Asteroids? No, but my dad does. Can't even sit on the toilet some days. And as a kid watching Vacation, there's a scene where the vacation's going south, obviously, as it is for the whole movie, and they want to turn around and go home, and then Chevy Chase stops the car, and it just, like, goes on this profanity.
Every
laden
vacation
thing.
movie has one of those.
But as a kid, I was like, oh my God, I can't, it made me uncomfortable watching that with my parents because it was like the F word like 12 times in,
It was just everyday
30 seconds.
life for little Jameson.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Holy. Anyways.
Speaking of Jameson Rabbit, one of my co-hosts here on Pop Culture Time Capsule,
wife
which you
said
are
Side
listening
Out.
to.
Side Out, come on, Nate. 1883?
Side Out with C. Thomas Howell?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
The
she's talking
volleyball
about Side
movie.
Out, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was damn.
He wasn't playing volleyball in no jean shorts like Val Kilmer either.
You ever see Zuma Beach with Suzanne Summers? That's another classic movie that takes place on the beach.
I love Zima.
Did I say Zima? It's Zuma.
I'm just kidding.
I like Zubaz. Yeah, I still wear those.
What do we got, number 4?
Yeah. Can we make this happen? Can we do it?
Jameson talked about Michael Jackson earlier in the program. For those of you that were listening, that's my number 4. The year of Michael Jackson, Thriller, which came out, yes, in '82. Bear with me here. It spent 37. It went to number 1 on the album chart early in '83, and it stayed on the album chart for 37 weeks.
It's a long time.
Yes. That's my point.
We must be overrated then.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. It's overrated. We didn't. I don't know if that you talked about this in your when it was your 10 or 9. I don't remember.
10.
The Thriller video in '83.
Yeah, I mentioned it.
You mentioned the Thriller video.
Totally.
That was a big deal. I mean, not only was it the first video that was like some sort of mini movie. It was like 14 minutes long.
Who directed it?
John Landis.
There you go.
And then who can forget they put out the making of, on VHS,
I love that.
and that was like one of the biggest selling videos of all time. That and Jane Fonda's workout.
Can I pick one of these?
What's wrong with the Library Wireless?
Keep going out.
Let's pick SPMC Wireless. But then I have to give you the password.
Type that in.
Jeez,
I'm trying because we keep losing connection.
trying to do radio here, and
well.
you're
I can kick it to PYT.
Pretty young thing.
please, yeah. But this just take me a second here.
Okay. I talked about when we did Dark Side of the Moon last week. There's a complete reggae version of it. There's also Thrilla. So it is a Easy Star All Stars also do a complete reggae redo of Michael Jackson's Thriller called Thrilla, and I got to see it live a few years ago at High Noon Saloon. Great stuff.
All right.
One of the things I love about Thriller, and who doesn't love Michael Jackson's Thriller, is I was trying to look it up, but there's a disclaimer that comes on at the beginning, like, I don't really believe in the occult. This video is meant to be fun, or I don't know what it says, but it's like, geez, really, was that really necessary to bring us down
Possibly
with
the
that?
last thing that Vincent Price did.
Yeah, what does that have to do with
I'm just
the?
saying, it was like the last thing that Vincent Price did was Thriller video.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I think I almost feel like that started the world premiere video. I mean, it might have.
I think it did. That's the first time I remember like there being a whole
production. You got to tune in at 8:00.
Yeah.
Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this film in no way endorses a belief in the occult. Yeah. So thank you for pulling that up, sir. I thought that's.
I think the plate in my head is thrown off our reception.
He took that very seriously, the whole thing, and then of course it had Ola Ray, former Playboy playmate Ola Ray. That was very exciting.
Va-va-voom.
And also, Jameson mentioned the Motown show, which was, I mean, that changed everything.
Right. Yeah.
He had Michael Jackson with all these legends of Motown, and he totally blew them all. Not that he wasn't a legend in and of himself,
but it was on a much lower level.
He was known mainly for the Jackson 5
He was known as a
at
kid.
that point. Yeah. And he just blew everybody off the
I mean,
stage.
Off the Wall was successful, but it was like, oh, look at little Mikey has transitioned into making adult music, blah blah blah.
Right.
But
that's not going to sustain.
Right. And
No.
have you? I mean, I can't even think of anyone who, over the course of such a short amount of time, went from, oh yeah, he's good, and a lot of people know him, to him being the biggest worldwide sensation in music. I mean, from November of '82 to February of '83, suddenly he's Michael Jackson, and the world knows him, and people are freaking out.
You could not escape the power of Michael Jackson in 1983.
Yeah.
So that's my number 4, Michael Jackson.
Made me want to go out and get the red jacket. I went and got the sequin glove, which I still have, my sequin glove from '83. Like, oh yeah, for sure.
That was actually my number 3, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I screwed that up.
Who knew?
That's all right.
Yeah, so I'll do my number 3 then. How about that? My number 3 is all about space adventures on film. My number 3. So I'm talking about a couple of movies that came out. The Right Stuff. Great movie. I love this movie. One of the great space films. And another like ensemble cast of who's who of actors. The first time I'd ever seen Ed Harris in anything. Just a lot of great, all about
Wilford Brimley.
The beginning of the space program. And it's a long film, but man, is it good. And then the other one, very different, is Return of the Jedi. Came out in 1983, the final of the original trilogy. Also, Return of the Jedi in 1983 was the best-selling book. The Return of the Jedi novelization was the best-selling book in the country. But I love me some Return of the Jedi. I know it's the butt of a lot of jokes because of the Ewoks and such. But man, did I love this movie. There's a lot about it that I really dig. I think when Lucas came back in the 90s and did the updated versions, special editions, I think this was the biggest travesty of the 3. He did the most damage to this one.
What did he do?
Well, this one,
refresh my memory.
He changed a huge chunk of the end of it. From
Did he keep Carrie Fisher in that bikini?
he did,
Okay,
but
can't be all bad.
So Cy Snoodles and the Max Rebo Band perform a song in Jabba's Palace in the original. And this one, now they're performing a totally different song, and it's got all this crazy CGI characters added into it. It's ridiculous. The end song, which was the Ewoks celebrating, playing Yub Nub as we play off. And then it turns into, all of a sudden, they show panning across all the planets, celebrating as if they all suddenly know the minute that the Emperor is dead, the entire galaxy knows, and they're all celebrating, and we're playing like this celebration song. There's some of the explosions are totally different. When the Death Star explodes, it looks completely different. I don't like a lot of it. Oh, you have the belching Sarlacc pit in the new version.
Do you have the original versions?
I have on VHS, and I transferred them to DVD.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're not beautiful versions, but
have
they're
they ever
versions.
have they ever been officially released
No.
since the special editions? Okay.
You can get burner copies, and that's been the legend, the urban legend. About every 5 years it comes up.
Right.
Is they're going to re-release it. Oh, Disney bought them. Disney says they're going to release them from the vaults now that George Lucas doesn't have it. Oh, maybe not. The Blu-rays are going to have it. It's not an option.
Well, why?
Here's the song. Yeah, Yum Nub, man. This is it. This has been erased from the annals. And then he went back and did one final travesty on this one after the prequels, where he went in and removed the guy who was playing the original Anakin Skywalker as the ghost, as you see Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin standing there at the end, giving Luke the nod from the shadows, and replace him with Hayden Christensen. What the hell, man? I don't like it. So, anyways, but I do love this movie. That's why it's my number 3, along with The Right Stuff.
So, give me the ranking of the original 3.
For me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say Empire.
Without a doubt.
That's my favorite movie ever. And then the original Star Wars, and then Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah.
And special editions, that stays the same. Nothing's changed so much to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And they're all above any prequels.
Well, of course. I'm not going to ask you about that. But Solo is your favorite Star Wars movie. Period.
No. That's in prequel territory for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So anyways, there you go. Space Adventures.
Good stuff.
Wow, we're doing a little Cyndi Lauper here.
We're gonna do a lot of Cyndi Lauper here. I'm talking about She's So Unusual, the amazing Cyndi Lauper album. You're hearing Girls Just Want to Have Fun. This video, which I really love, a lot of dancing in the streets. And hey, you know what? If girls just want to have fun, and that means them dancing in the streets and sewers and at home and knocking over cornflakes and weird stuff, I'm all for it.
My wife loves this movie, by the way. Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
We're not talking about the movie.
I'm just saying.
That thing came out in 83.
Just saying, the song.
Sarah Jessica Parker?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
can't stand that movie.
This won MTV's Best Female Video Award. And I'm gonna also, just for me and my good buddy Billy, we loved doing the xylophone solo and crossing over, and I don't know, it's just a fun thing that we do because this is one of the most fun, positive songs ever, right?
It is.
It's actually a cover, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff Robbins, true or false?
He's not listening.
True.
True, it is a cover.
And then she did it again when the hits dried up. She released it like another version of it. like a slower version.
Yes. Okay.
Like a Neil Sedaka breaking up his hard to do thing.
You also have Money Changes Everything, When You Were Mine, She Bop, which is of course about
Sure.
female masturbation.
Sure.
Time After Time is off. She's on So Unusual.
That's a
love,
weeper. That's a
love
weeper.
Time After
That's
Time.
my favorite.
That's
That,
a
it is
weeper.
my favorite as well. That's my go-to. Oh, here we go. Xylophone. Oh, unbelievable. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think the video for Time After Time, she's like dating some guy who lives in a trailer, and then she like leaves in the middle of the night or something like that. Oh, it's a weeper.
This is also one of my favorite videos of '83. You can lump them in there with the Kaja Goo Goo.
You get Captain Lou Albano.
That was going to be my next trivia. That was going to be the next trivia
damn it.
question. That's okay.
I got it. I answered
Nice job.
So who plays Cindy's dad in the music video?
it. The captain himself.
Captain Lou
Old
Albano.
rubber band face.
Jeff Robbins, who is Captain Lou Albano?
I believe he's a wrestling promoter.
Close enough.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
wrestling
I like
manager.
that.
Wouldn't be close
Very good.
enough. He's also one of the.
He's a manager.
He's also one of the Mario brothers in the Super Mario Brothers show.
That he is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's the Mario Brothers.
Unbelievable. It's some great.
You are a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well done on that. She had connections. I think it was her manager, who was also her boyfriend, also managed or loved wrestling, but also was maybe managed some wrestlers too.
She was dating classy Freddie Blassie.
Stop. But that's how she got involved with. I think she was at the very first WrestleMania
She
in
was
84, 85.
She was the linchpin in the rock and wrestling connection.
Yes, and they
Was Cyndi Lauper.
and they there was like a storyline where she was it. I don't know if it was Wendy Richter or something.
Rock and Robin.
Oh, it was Rock and Robin. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But Cyndi Lauper in '83. Holy cow! This is my highest bit of music from the year. And while I may like the Minutemen and Kill 'Em All a little bit more, this is just it's fun. It is exactly what she wanted.
Yeah.
So there you
good.
go. My number 3, Cyndi Lauper's "She's So Unusual."
Can't help but like this.
Oh my gosh.
Truly.
Something's wrong with your innards if you don't.
No. Sarah says, yes, I do love that movie. It's just a bad movie.
So, this is the highest music-related entry on your list,
That is correct.
but it's not your favorite album from the year.
no, but I think it is.
So explain
in
explain the logic there. How
real
you,
dichotomy
Okay.
here.
Okay. So on my list, sometimes I choose my thing's favorite. So the first episode we did was 1982. My number 1 was my favorite reggae album of all time, Steel Pulse.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was back in May. Every time that I see Jeff Robbins, he makes fun of me about
not
putting
making fun.
Steel.
I'm not making
no,
fun.
No, I'm gonna cut his mic.
Nah, making
He makes
just
fun.
having,
He's-
just having fun.
Yeah,
not making
yeah,
fun.
Yeah, well,
Laughing
it's a combination. It's
and
okay.
laughing
I can
with
accept
you.
it. No,
You
I
know
can
what?
take
Not
it.
at you.
This
I
is
can
90
take it.
minutes in. This is about the time you guys had your blow up last week.
I'm still getting over the dark side stuff.
He's
Dark
still
side of the
fighting
Robbins.
That one off. I love it.
So maybe after the first episode, I decided that I should put things that are more important for the year, as opposed to what I
Culturally
love
significant.
most. And in terms of cultural significance, I think "She's So Unusual" is the most important. So that's where I put it. The highest bit of music on my list. And
More
there you go.
culturally significant than Madonna's first album.
I think Madonna had better hits after this.
Yeah, in '88, I think her album was
Like
superior.
my favorite, I love '80s Madonna more than
But
the
I mean,
other versions of
Madonna
Madonna. But
had-
"Into the Groove" is that to me.
But
That's
Madonna had more staying power, obviously.
yeah, but
That's
but
still,
but
the jury's still out on that.
yeah, haven't you seen the psoriasis commercials for with Cyndi Lauper in it?
She's
Those
still
are
got a
very
late
good.
career
Those are very
regeneration.
very believable. In those
Jeff, do you have any more
commercials.
music on upcoming on your list?
No.
Oh, okay. You gonna choose a song for our final musical break? Do we
Do you have
time
to,
for
do you have to go to the bathroom?
one? No. I'm just seeing that we're at number 2.
I still haven't done my number 3.
You have done your number 4. You mean?
Well, if you want to get technical, that's
All right,
true.
go ahead. Go ahead. Hit it.
Well, this is actually music related.
All right, good. Let's
If you need to take a break,
I don't.
but
Let's go.
I don't think we need the time.
All right.
So back in April 1983, there was a gentleman in the Ronald Reagan administration. His name was James Watts, and he was the Secretary of the Department of the Interior.
It's a big title.
Yes, and it seems like people that get that job for some reason have very little interest in actually
Interior
protecting
decorating.
the environment. But I digress. So he decided that there he is right there, he's a good-looking man.
He looks like you with glasses.
Where do you think I got my look from? That is how I get my look.
Oh my God.
So he said, "Hey, you know what? I know we have these Independence Day concerts every year featuring the Beach Boys out on Independence. I'm sorry, National Mall in Washington D.C. But you know those Beach Boys, they attract the wrong element.
Right.
They attract lots of drugs, lots of alcohol.
The worst.
So we are going to ban those concerts, and we're going to do a nice little thing with Wayne Newton because he's where it's really at.
Right.
And
happening.
Unfortunately, he didn't talk to the president about it. He didn't talk to the first lady, and it turns out that the president and the first lady both really liked the Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that James Watt didn't even know what the Beach Boys were, just assumed because he knew nothing about music, just assumed that they were a bunch of bad dudes,
Obviously.
doing bad things.
Beach bums.
Exactly. So, this was a big embarrassment for the Reagan administration. It kind of showed how out of touch they were, that somebody would consider the Beach Boys of all bands to be attracting the wrong element, and that really Wayne Newton had any sort of significance or was relative at all in music in 1983.
The Beach Boys responded by making Kokomo just to show us all.
So it turns out that it was all good with the Beach Boys because they got all this publicity, and they were kind of fallow in the early 80s, and they got a lot of good publicity out of it. They and by the time that the Reagan said, "No, we actually want you back, come back," they said, "Sorry, we were booked in Atlantic City that night. We can't do the show." And Ronald Reagan presented James Watt with a big plastic foot with a hole in it for having shot himself in the foot. And then later that year, James Watt talked about one of his subcommittees and claimed that it featured a woman, 2 Jews, and a cripple. And people didn't really care for that sort of categorization of people. And he was forced to resign, among other reasons as well. But
remember the old halcyon days when these were the biggest troubles we had in politics?
Banning the Beach Boys?
Yeah.
In terms of Reagan,
What an embarrassment.
Yeah. In terms of Reagan era failures, where does this stack up next to the war on drugs?
I think the war on drugs was a bigger failure.
Okay, I guess.
More wide ranging, but that's not. I don't know if that's really. I'm talking. This is pop culture time capsule. Beach Boys are pop culture. This was more pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You start talking about spacewalks, and
Yeah.
Super Bowl is next.
Ugh. Super Bowls.
That's
the
my number
worst.
4/3 on my
Battle
list.
of the Sexes.
Number 3. That means it's my time to talk about number 2 right here on Pop Culture Time Capsule on 103.5 The Sun. Thank you for tuning in. We are in our final half hour as we've now expanded out to 2 hours for the foreseeable future. That means that I have some time to talk about my number 2 selection, which is the incredible kids programming of 1983. You turn on your television set in 1983, and there is, I think, some of the great programs for children of all time. In the animated side, you had the debuts of G.I. Joe, a real American hero. Love that show. You also had He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So many of these shows that debuted in 1983, this was in the early days of let's make a TV show to sell toys. And they weren't really hiding the fact that they were doing that. You also had Inspector Gadget. You had, bringing it back to my number 9 when I was talking about TV shows, He-Man, or Mr. T. The Mr. T show his animated program was awesome, and then had a second life with TV Funhouse as they took the clips from the Mr. T show and then turned them all around, which was a lot of fun. And then my favorite Saturday morning cartoon in 83, 84, Dungeons and Dragons. I have the entire series on DVD. It was great. The Dungeon Masters sending them off. These guys who fall in, go through the Dungeons and Dragons carnival ride and come out on the bad side, and they're inside the game and fighting off the evil wizard. And then on the non-animated side, you also had the debut of the Hensons' Fraggle Rock. And then 2 really informative programs. Mr. Wizard appeared, a kindly old man who was teaching kids how science worked in a very down to earth way.
Was that a reboot?
No, that was Mr. Wizard had 2 shows that debuted in 1983. Both of his Mr. Wizard programs. And then Reading Rainbow. LeVar Burton with the reading Butterfly in the Sky. I can fly twice as high. Reading Rainbow, which then got another reboot recently because my generation said, my kids need Reading Rainbow. LeVar Burton also has an amazing podcast that he talks about things that happened on Reading Rainbow and such. But, I mean, this is some amazing kids programming that came on in 83. All of these shows transfixed me. Jeff, what do you know about Mr. Wizard? What are you looking at?
Mr. Wizard originally hosted his first show in 1951. The show was called Watch Mr.
Nobody
Wizard.
watched that. He was not Nickelodeon in
51
1951.
to 65 and also 71 to 72. Mr. Wizard's World started in 1983.
Exactly. And that is the Mr. Wizard. He wasn't a kindly old guy in 1951. Nobody gave a crap about him.
The only reason I know that is because he was on the premiere episode of Late Night with David Letterman
about that?
in 1982.
Well, 1983, he got his program, and an entire generation of kids my age were watching him, learning how to do
On
things.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, on Nickelodeon. That's what I said. He was great. He would have kids on, and that's what was great. It wasn't just him like talking and teaching. He's got kids on. Hey, Jimmy, put that in there. Let's see what happens. Ooh, amazing.
Sounds like a party at Danu's house.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, so that's my number 2, kids programming. I love all of these.
That's a really good collection you've got there. Reading Rainbow.
That's the first compliment we've had all night.
Yeah, no, it's not
He
like
hasn't
last week.
lambasted me yet.
LeVar Burton apparently has had some not so great interactions with police and being pulled over to the point where he, like, when he gets pulled over, he puts his hands on the dash and like has to sits and waits for everything. Okay.
We doing all right, Jeff?
To Fraggle Rock, I got my first job at a Euro shop
Lost my
and
pen.
16 years old. And I got the job. A friend helped me get a job there, and they would refer to me. I've been Frony for a long time, and I remember one of the managers there, and she's like, "Frony, what is that? Is that Fraggle Rock?"
Yeah.
I didn't
LeVar
know.
Burton, man. LeVar Burton has had 3 massively cultural significant roles, though, in 3 different
think of
generations.
2.
So he was Kunta Kinte in Roots.
Oh, my bad. Yep. Okay.
And then Reading Rainbow. And then
Yes.
Geordi on Star Trek
Right.
at TNG.
Of course.
Yeah. Pretty great
Is
stuff.
that the best Star Trek?
No.
What really?
I like the original series.
Oh, okay. Cartoon?
No.
Comic book? Nothing?
I'm an original series guy.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so there you go. That's my number 2. Amazingly, we have 15 minutes left.
This is great.
Yeah.
We have time.
How about it?
Yeah. Jeff, you need a song? You need
We're going to have
play
honorable
anything?
mention time, I'm telling you.
Ooh, how about that?
Hubba hubba.
Let's make it happen.
For my number 2, I got a movie. Jameson talked about this one on his space adventures. I'm talking about Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. How could you not? This is one of maybe the most continually talked about in terms of the movies of 1983. I think just putting all the Star Wars together, I think think about how many movies reference Star Wars or how many TV shows.
It was the end of it, too.
Yeah,
I mean, it
exactly.
was
You
the
tied up all these different
culmination.
things going on.
Yeah.
It was the holy trilogy, many would consider it, for movies. And like you said, Empire Strikes Back it's the best movie of the 3, and I think it's the best movie of all the Star Wars movies, and it's really hard to compete with that. But Return of the Jedi was a lot of fun. I got to watch most of it this week, but I wanted to work some other things in there, so I didn't get to finish it. But I do have the versions that were...
You're watching Kaja Gugu videos.
That's right. Over and over. Over and
Guy's
over.
got funny hair. Look at that guy with
Yeah,
the funny
yeah,
hair. Oh, 83.
Yeah, you got to check this out. So it has the weird updates. And when these came back in theaters, 98... Was it 97, 98?
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi was the only one that I saw in theaters, and I remember thinking, like, certain parts were like, God, Han Solo looks really old, all of a sudden. But there is the weird CGI mix-ups that I don't like. I know you mentioned some of the other weird changes, and even this week, it just looks bad. Like, it looks trashy.
Yeah.
It's not good. Some of the CGI added additions in there, and Hayden Christensen at the end there. I don't know. I wish they would have just left him alone.
Right.
For our sake. I know it's his movies and his his artistic direction.
Right.
But sometimes you just got to let it go. I think South Park had an episode about.
I mean, he testified before Congress during the Ted Turner talks about him colorizing, and he said an artist should not have his art messed with.
Unreal.
But when he is the artist, and he has that.
But he testified. I mean, he was saying total. Like once art is put out there, it belongs to the public, and you shouldn't mess with it. It's in the public consciousness. You shouldn't mess with it.
He couldn't take his own advice.
I don't really mind him messing with it as long as you make the originals available as well.
That's the issue. You have to go overseas to get those because there's
and I
bootleg
say that when
releases.
people talk about like, oh, they're remaking such and such. You know, they remake Ghostbusters. You know, it's like, oh my god, it's like they're not coming to your house and taking the original Ghostbusters out of your hands and burning it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
to change it,
kind of did that with Star Wars. They made it inaccessible.
Right.
Yeah. So huge mistake.
That's the issue.
And really, positives and negatives here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Positives is Slave Leia. Oh my God, that's like the biggest nerd fantasy, right?
Sure.
Other than the blue chick from Fifth Element, or Mila Jovovich from Fifth Element.
Lilo.
And then the negative would be the first time they made the Death Star, it was complete. But this time, it wasn't totally complete, so there was independent contractors on there, and they had to know what they were getting into, right, Jameson?
You'll find this Death Star is fully armed and operational. Yeah, so many guys, so many plumbers killed in that.
That's right. It's unfair, you know?
Yep.
Those damn rebels.
Yep.
So there you go. My number 2, Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
So the people that are watching at home will enjoy this. I put my pen here, and then I frantically was looking for my pen.
I saw you do it, too.
Well done. Well done.
Really on top of my game tonight. My number 2 is a made-for-TV film that came out in 1983, November 1983, I believe, and it fictionalized a nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union, and it was called The Day After, and it was highly, I guess, controversial would be the way to put it. Certainly, nuclear war was on top of a lot of people's minds in '83 as the arms race heated up between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Growing up at the time, we didn't do the under your desk drill routines like they did in the 50s, but it seemed like those days maybe we're not too far off from coming back. But The Day After, it focused on Kansas City and Lawrence, Kansas, because it was supposedly the geographical center of the country, where the real people live, and kind of showing what would happen if there was a nuclear war in the United States or a nuclear attack.
Kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Kind of disturbing.
It kind of made you want to just forget your cares and woes and party all night long.
Yep.
So anyway, so now but yeah, it was a big deal. I was in 6th grade or maybe seventh grade.
You were in 7th grade going on 8th grade.
Thank you, sir. And yes, we had big discussions about it. ABC put out all sorts of viewer guides. Families were warned, to watch with your children because it would be very disturbing. And
I remember talking about this at school the next day.
Yeah, well, we talked about it.
The teacher led the discussion.
Yes,
because everyone saw it.
Yeah, we were told to watch it more or less, but watch it, with adult supervision, right? And
just like Porky's Revenge.
You were talking about Star Trek a second ago. Yes, I was listening. This was directed by the guy that directed Star Trek II, I believe, Nicholas Meyer.
Okay.
Is that the guy's name? Sure it is.
I think it is.
Yeah. He took on the job, and he talked about the fact that he did a lot of research on nuclear war before they started filming, and it said it depressed the hell out of him, so much so that he couldn't sleep at night. Because, again, this didn't seem like that big of a fantasy back in '83, that this kind of thing could really happen. So, and as we talked about a second ago, yes, it was almost a required viewing at the time. It got a 46 rating and a 62% share, and it is still the highest rated TV film in history.
Wow.
The Day After.
The Day After.
Freaky Friday.
Presented with limited commercial interruption.
Right. Oh, remember that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my number 2.
All right. My number 1 is music videos of 1983. I think 1983 was the greatest year of music videos ever. So many iconic ones now. We've talked about ad nauseum. Thriller. Yes, we've talked about it.
What about V?
I just want to say here that I don't believe in the occult.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, Thriller, Beat It, but three of my favorite music videos, just because of the insanity they represent 1983 music videos to me, are Bonnie Taylor's Total Eclipse of the Heart. That video is insane. You've got doves and ninjas and just random stuff happening, like Village of the Damned Children with glowing eyes. Nothing makes sense in this video. There's a great literal video of this that's hilarious. Also, one that I love, both the song and the video, Hall & Oates' Man-Eater. Just random panther walking through the video.
Well, because she's a man-eater.
The great G.E. Smith in there just hamming it up for the camera. Just looking right down the barrel. I love this video. I love this song.
It's not as good a video as Private Eyes.
No, of course.
But we're talking about 83.
We're talking about 83. But my favorite video of 1983 is Journey's Separate Ways. You've got the boys from Journey stalking out the girl down by the docks. She's walking around, and they keep appearing. You have, sometimes they appear sans instruments, and so I love the air keyboards. You've got the air drums. Everyone's playing air guitar. Steve Perry out there in his sleeveless shirt just begging for this chick who's walking down by the docks to come with him.
And a lot of shots of just the legs.
Just
walking.
her heels.
Yeah, just the heels. Yeah.
Love it.
Ooh.
I love
There's a temptress because she's got high heels.
So much. They're just appearing. Just the
It's
air guitar.
the most amateurish. Yeah, it's. You wouldn't think a rock group would look as dorky as they look
really
in this
do.
video,
And they're all hamming it up for the camera too. Just awful, but I love it. So that's my number one is the great music videos of 1983. That's my list.
Very good.
Let's end the show.
Very good.
Oh, you guys got stuff.
oh,
too.
very good. He got a very good.
I know.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't get that.
It's a lot of fun videos.
All right. It's time for Anthony and Dan Newman.
All right, for my number one, I've got a little movie called Scarface. This is directed by Brian De Palma. Didn't do great, but has grown to become, I don't know, one of the. Would you consider this one of the bigger cult classics, or is it? I know this isn't on your list apparently, so because you're not a fan.
I don't like Scarface.
I don't think it's not a cult classic. Is it?
Because it's blown up so big, like
was a
since
big
the DVD
film.
release.
It's been huge for as long as I can remember. I mean, I remember picking up the VHS set back in the early 90s.
This was so hard to get your hands on a DVD copy because they would fly off the shelves. This is the first thing I ever bought online was the Scarface DVD, and I'd never seen it. I only heard of this great movie, and I remember it was so much different than what I thought it was. But what do you got?
The Journey video.
Oh, that is great. That is great. Oh my God.
I used to have a Scarface poster on my wall for years, like a massive, oversized one. And I now have turned 180 on that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
So for a long
Why is
time,
that?
I liked the movie Blow better, but I think I watching it back this week for the first time in a long time. It was on Netflix. I watched, because it's so long, I watched like 45 minutes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I had a lot of fun going back and watching this. I think the soundtrack is just completely just hilarious synth 80s music. You're listening to Debbie Harry's Rush Rush.
Got a very young Michelle Pfeiffer in there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what a fox. So I want to, my last trivia question is regarding Scarface. So we can't tell you how Tony Montana got his scar on the air, right? But according to the cable television version, how did Tony Montana get the scar on his face?
Don't recall.
My first guess could not be aired. A vicious
Acid.
monkey knife fight.
Gosh,
Acid.
those are great guesses.
Acid.
Eating pineapple. Eating pineapple.
I was
is
with
how
you
he got
until the pineapple.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I think this was a lot better than I had remembered. I hadn't watched it probably since I was a teenager, but I really enjoyed going back to watch this movie, and I had to put it as my number one for 1983. I think this is a big deal.
Murray Abraham. That's his best role. Was in this movie.
Frank?
F. Murray Abraham. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. What about Richard Belzer in the Comedy
Belzer,
Club? Huh?
sure.
What a nice little cameo there.
Jeff, this leaves us with you.
Yeah, Jameson had it right, but he had it too far down his list. The number one thing that happened pop culture-wise in 1983, of course, was the final episode of M.A.S.H., February 28th, 1983, the most watched episode of anything ever of all time ever in the history of television. You're talking about a show as beloved as M.A.S.H. I think this really hit on all cylinders. It gave people what they wanted. They got the satisfaction of the war ending finally. They got the satisfaction of Klinger getting married. Or somebody always has to get married in these shows.
The satisfaction. I mean, I hope Klinger gets married.
Well, somebody has to get married.
You have to have a wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have the bromance between BJ and Hawkeye, and they can't say goodbye to each other, but Hawkeye goes away in the helicopter, and BJ's written out goodbye in the rocks.
Oh my God! Water, I'm Niagara Falls.
Crying right now. Hawkeye gives Hot Lips a very passionate kiss at the end of the episode. And it was watched by 121 million people.
That's a lot of people.
So
almost as many as listen to Pop Culture Time Capsule.
We're getting there.
There's a 1 in there somewhere. But
There's one watching us right now.
But yeah, I think to a certain extent, I think there have been better finales since M.A.S.H.
But not more impactful.
Certainly there've been worse, but I think that's the measuring stick. Is everybody goes back to the M.A.S.H. finale in terms of quality and ratings. So that is my number one on my list.
Very good.
Of 1983.
So I'm the only person who had Scarface on their list. Any other things that you guys, glaring holes like that you saw, such as, I don't know, the Police Synchronicity or a Def Leppard album? What else did we not hear from that you guys think were big in 83?
ZZ Top, Eliminator, Mr. Roboto.
Mr. Roboto,
I had
Sweet Dreams.
Huey Lewis in the News Sports.
Yeah.
I had 3 shows: Wheel of Fortune, Star Search, and Press Your Luck all debuted in 1983.
Very good. She works hard for the money. Donna Summer.
Better treat her right.
Huh?
Hey, next week we are going to be talking. We're going to be doing our Thanksgiving episode, much like we did with our Halloween episode a couple weeks ago. Leading up to Thanksgiving, we're going to be doing an episode entirely based around our pop culture things of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go.
Oh, I got my list ready.
I can think of 2.
Well, there's more than 2.
Okay, well,
Trust.
Oh, goodness.
Can I just copy off you?
Yep. And then when we return after that, we will be.
Do you have any, Danu?
Talking.
No, I'm so screwed next week.
Okay.
I'm going to have Scarface number 1 next week.
Going to pull a year for when we return after that. Anthony wants to have a year pulled for when we return from Thanksgiving. You're just pulling it.
You're pulling it.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to reach in.
Oh, jeez. Jeez.
That's what she said.
I don't know what this is. Let's see what it says. 2007, boys.
Nice.
2007.
Let's do
I
it.
like it.
That's what
do
we're
it.
talking about when
like
we return
it.
from our Thanksgiving episode.
Very good.
There we go.
All right. Well done on the 2-hour episode, fellas.
Nice job.
I'm going to use my my honorable mention to play us a song on the way out of here. This is New Edition, Candy Girl. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching or listening to or streaming or watching whatever way you're getting the show. Pop Culture Time Capsule. We'll be back next week with our very special Thanksgiving episode. Last song of the day, Candy Girl, New Edition.
I love you all.
Bye.